The kitchen smelled of cinnamon and coffee, a warm haze curling from the pot on the counter as sunlight spilled through the window, painting the linoleum floor in soft gold. Tom Harris stood at the stove, flipping pancakes with a practiced flick of his wrist, humming a tune under his breath. It was an old folk song, one his mother used to sing when he was a kid, about rivers and open skies. The melody felt like home, steady and familiar, like the weight of his daughter's laughter in the air. "Daddy, you're burning them again." Lily's voice, bright and teasing, cut through his humming. She sat at the table, her 11-year-old frame perched on a chair, swinging her legs. Her brown curls bounced as she leaned forward, pointing an accusing finger at the skillet. Tom glanced down, chuckling. "Not burned, kiddo. Just extra crispy." He slid a pancake onto a plate, its edges a little too dark, and set it in front of her. "You're gonna eat it anyway, right?" Lily wrinkled her nose but grabbed the syrup bottle, drowning the pancake in a sticky flood. "Only 'cause I'm starving," she said, her hazel eyes sparkling with mischief. She was all energy, his Lily, quick with a joke, quicker with a smile. She'd been like that since she was a toddler, toddling into rooms and charming strangers with her giggles. Tom watched her now, cutting her pancake into neat little squares, and felt that familiar ache in his chest. She was growing too fast. "Sing with me," he said suddenly, the idea sparking like a match. He started the folk song again, louder this time, his voice warm and a little off-key. "Oh, the river runs wide, and the skies open high." Lily groaned, but her grin betrayed her. "Dad, you sound like a sad cowboy. Come on, you know the words." He nudged her shoulder, leaning down. "Sing, or no more pancakes." She rolled her eyes but joined in, her voice high and clear, weaving through his deeper tone. "And the heart finds its way through the night and the day." Their voices filled the kitchen, clumsy but joyful, bouncing off the walls. Tom felt the moment settle into him, like a photograph he could keep forever. This ordinary Saturday morning, just him and his girl. They'd done this before, hundreds of times. Music was their thing, ever since Lily was small enough to fit in the crook of his arm. He'd strum his old guitar, and she'd clap along, making up nonsense lyrics. Now, at 11, she was starting to write her own songs, scribbling them in a notebook she carried everywhere. Tom was no musician, just a high school history teacher with a decent voice and a love for old tunes. But with Lily, he felt like he could be anything. The song ended, and Lily clapped, her hands sticky with syrup. "We're getting good, Dad. We should start a band." "Oh yeah? What's our name?" Tom leaned against the counter, sipping his coffee. "The Pancake Singers," she said without missing a beat. "World tour, here we come." He laughed, the sound deep and easy. "Deal. But you're handling the groupies." They finished breakfast, the plates stacked in the sink, the morning stretching out before them. It was spring in their small Ohio town, the kind of day that begged for open windows and bare feet. Lily wanted to bike to the park, maybe stop by the library to drop off some books. Tom agreed, grabbing his keys and her helmet from the hall closet. "Stay close, all right?" he said as they stepped outside, the air fresh with the scent of blooming lilacs. The park was a short ride away, a sprawling green space with a playground and a pond where ducks glided lazily. Lily pedaled ahead, her bike wobbling as she called back, "Race you." Tom jogged behind, pretending to struggle to keep up, his sneakers scuffing the pavement. The park was alive with people, families picnicking, kids chasing each other, an older couple walking hand in hand. Tom waved at a neighbor, feeling the small-town rhythm settle around him. At the playground, Lily ditched her bike and ran to the swings, her laughter trailing like a kite. Tom sat on a bench nearby, watching her pump her legs, her face tilted to the sky. He pulled out his phone to check the time, 10:37 a.m. They had the whole day ahead. Maybe they'd grab ice cream later, or he'd finally fix the tire swing in their backyard like she'd been begging him to. "Dad, come push me," Lily called, her voice carrying over the chatter of the park. He stood, brushing grass off his jeans, and jogged over. "You're too big for this, you know," he teased, giving her swing a gentle push. "Never too big," she shot back, grinning as she soared higher. They stayed like that for a while, him pushing, her laughing, the world narrowing to just the two of them. Then Lily hopped off, landing with a dramatic flourish. "Let's do something crazy," she said, her eyes bright with that spark she got when an idea hit her. "Crazy how?" Tom asked, raising an eyebrow. She pointed across the park to a small crowd gathered near the pond. A man was playing a guitar, his case open on the ground with a few crumpled bills inside. Let's sing with him, Lily said, already tugging Tom's hand. Tom hesitated. Lily, we don't even know the guy. So? It'll be fun. Come on, Dad, don't be boring. He couldn't say no to her, not when she looked at him like that, like he was her hero just for saying yes. They walked over, Lily practically bouncing. The guitarist was older, with graying hair and a weathered jacket, strumming a slow rendition of This Land Is Your Land. A few people clapped along, others tossed coins into his case. Lily didn't wait for permission. Hi, she said, stepping right up to the man. Can we sing with you? The guitarist blinked, then smiled, his face crinkling. Well, sure, little lady. You know this one. Duh, Lily said, and Tom couldn't help but laugh. She was fearless in a way he'd never been. The man started the next verse, and Lily jumped in, her voice ringing out clear and strong. Tom joined her, a little self-conscious at first, his voice blending with hers. The crowd grew, people stopping to listen, some smiling, others nodding along. A woman with a stroller dropped $1 in the case. A teenage boy filmed them on his phone. Lily was in her element, her hands gesturing like she was on a stage, her curls catching the sunlight. Tom watched her, his chest tight with pride. She wasn't just singing. She was giving something to these strangers, a piece of her joy. When the song ended, the crowd clapped, and the guitarist tipped his hat to Lily. You've got pipes, kid, he said. You too, Dad. Lily beamed, turning to Tom. Told you it'd be fun. They sang one more song, a bouncy version of Sweet Caroline, and the crowd joined in, their voices rising together. For those few minutes, the park felt like a community, strangers connected by a melody and a girl's fearless spirit. Tom felt it too, that rare moment when the world seemed kinder, softer, because of something as simple as a song. When they finished, Lily hugged the guitarist, who laughed and handed her $1 from his case. For the performance, he said. She tried to give it back, but he insisted, and Tom saw the way her eyes lit up, not at the money, but at the gesture. They were walking back to their bikes when it happened. Lily stopped suddenly, her hand clutching Tom's arm. Dad, she said, her voice small, strange. I don't feel good. He turned, his heart lurching at the look on her face. Pale, her lips trembling. What's wrong, sweetheart? He knelt, cupping her face, searching her eyes. My chest hurts, she whispered, her breath hitching. It's tight. Panic surged through him, sharp and cold. Okay, sit down, just sit. He guided her to the grass, his hands shaking as he pulled out his phone. People were still milling around, the guitarist's music faint in the distance. Tom dialed 911, his voice steady only because he had to be. My daughter, she's having trouble breathing. We're at Riverside Park, by the pond. Please, hurry. Lily's hand gripped his, her fingers small and cold. Dad, I'm scared, she said, and the words cut him deeper than anything ever had. You're gonna be okay, he said, over and over, willing it to be true. He held her close, her head against his chest, and started singing softly, that same folk song from the kitchen. Oh, the river runs wide, his voice cracked, but he kept going, because it was all he could do, because it was what they did together. The ambulance arrived in minutes, but it felt like years. Paramedics surrounded them, checking Lily's pulse, asking questions Tom barely heard. Her eyes fluttered, her grip on his hand loosening. Stay with me, Lily, he begged, his voice breaking. Please, stay with me. They rushed her to the hospital, Tom in the back of the ambulance, holding her hand, singing through tears until his throat was raw. At the hospital, doctors swarmed, their faces grim as they wheeled her away. Tom stood in the waiting room, alone, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. He didn't know how long he waited. Minutes, hours, until a doctor came out, her eyes heavy with the news no parent should ever hear. A congenital heart defect, she said. Undiagnosed. A rare condition that had hidden itself until it didn't. Lily's heart had given out, too weak to keep up with her boundless spirit. She was gone. Tom didn't remember much after that. The world blurred. People talking, forms to sign, calls to make. He drove home in a daze, the silence in the car deafening. The house was worse. Her notebook sat on the kitchen table, open to a half-written song about flying kites. Her bike leaned against the garage, helmet still hooked on the handlebars. The smell of pancakes lingered, faint and cruel. The days that followed were a fog of grief. Tom's sister came to help, handling the funeral arrangements, the casseroles from neighbors, the endless condolences. He nodded through it all, hollow, his mind replaying that morning, their song, her laugh, the way she'd hugged the guitarist. He kept expecting her to walk through the door, calling him a sad cowboy. The funeral was small, held at the church where Lily had sung in the kids' choir. The guitarist from the park showed up, uninvited but welcome, and played "This Land Is Your Land" as people wept. Tom couldn't speak, couldn't find words big enough for the hole in his chest. He just sat, holding Lily's notebook, her messy handwriting a map of her heart. Weeks passed, then months. Tom went back to teaching. Though the classroom felt empty, without Lily's notes slipped onto his desk, doodles of stars and lyrics. He stopped singing, the silence a punishment he didn't know he'd chosen. The world moved on, but he couldn't. Then, one gray November afternoon, a package arrived. It was from the teenage boy who'd filmed them at the park. Inside was a USB drive and a note. "I thought you should have this." Tom plugged it into his laptop, his hands trembling. The video started, shaky but clear, Lily singing, her voice soaring, her smile lighting up the screen. The crowd clapped, strangers drawn together by her joy. Tom watched it again and again, tears streaming, until he could almost feel her beside him. The video spread online, shared by the boy, then by others. People posted comments about Lily's voice, her spirit, how she'd made them smile that day. A woman wrote that she'd been at the park, grieving her own loss, and Lily's song had given her a moment of peace. A man said he'd donated to a children's hospital because of her. Strangers started singing "This Land Is Your Land" in their own towns, posting videos with #LilysInks, turning her moment into a movement. Tom read every comment, watched every video. He saw Lily's kindness ripple outward, touching people she'd never met. A school in Chicago started a music program in her name. A family in Texas planted a tree by a pond, a place for kids to sing. Her light, her selflessness, was alive in ways Tom hadn't imagined. One evening, he took his guitar to the park, to the spot by the pond. The air was cold, the sky streaked with pink. He sat on the grass, where Lily had sat that day, and started to play. His voice was rusty, but it came, soft at first, then stronger. "Oh, the river runs wide, and the skies open high." He sang for her, for himself, for the strangers who'd felt her warmth. He sang because it was what they did, what they'd always do. The crowd gathered slowly, people drawn by the music, just like before. They didn't know the story, not all of it, but they clapped along, some singing, their voices weaving together. Tom closed his eyes, feeling Lily in the melody, in the kindness of strangers, in the way the world still held beauty because she'd been in it. He didn't stop singing, not that night, not ever. Lily's song was his now, a promise to keep her light alive, to let her heart find its way through the night and the day.